welcome to KIRKS Toolbox webinar series. We're really excited today. Our special guest is Randy Lalonde. He is the founding partner of Transit Cooling Solutions. We're going to talk about cooling down costs with the power of all aluminum radiators. My name is Linda Kleist, and on our panelist guests, we have Bob Kirkman. He is a partner at KIRKS, your partner for parts. And Abby Thompson is on technical. If you have any issues you can't hear, then please, in the chat in your toolbar below, you can send us a message and we'll get right to it. And we want to be able to answer your questions directly while we're on this webinar. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We might be able to stop and answer that right away, but we'll definitely have time at the end to answer your questions. We're also going to be sending recordings of this. So if it's so good and you want to share it with somebody else, you'll get that recording. And I think that covers our intro. This is what we're going to start with today. We're covering the impact, the advantages of all aluminum radiators versus plastic, the impact of all aluminum radiators, durability and lower operating costs, and covering some details on maintenance, installation, cost, supply, and turnaround. So, Randy, we're looking forward to learning more about the advantages of aluminum replacement over original plastic tanks and the upgrades to charge air coolers. Thanks for joining us today, Randy.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, there's our nice intro slide, but you can already see Randy. And
that's okay.
Yes, there you go. So, Randy, can you talk to us about the all aluminum heavy duty alternative?
Yes, I can. I think I'll start with a bit of an intro on myself, though, Linda,
That would
just
be
so that
great.
people know who I might be. I'm third generation in the motion cooling industry, um, and I also have somebody coming after me, so maybe two more after me, actually. But anyways, so my grandfather, my father, and myself have been in this industry since back in the 40s. Um, I've been in it full time since 1979. Our family's been very involved and actively involved in the association, the trade associations that serve the radiator industry. Started out mostly in the automotive side for cars and trucks, uh, transitioned into the big trucks, over the road trucks, and then of course buses, which is what leads us here today. Um, our company founded in 2009 that relates solely to the bus radiator or bus industry. Um, we started with other products for the buses, but then in with radiators being our core business, I suppose pun intended there. We focus solely on the buses, both the motor coaches, transit, and school bus. I have a partner in this, Martin Tall, who lives a couple hours away from me. He's been a long-time industry friend, and we chose to do this together. We've had uh, we've had some great successes. We've learned a lot of lessons too. I'm not going to deny that, but so in our past, so I said I started in 79 full time as a family member. You don't count the years before that. And Martin also has somewhere in the range of 35 to 40 years in this business. So when we began to focus on the buses, we just started out with a couple of part numbers and, and just to step back just for a second, in both of our working careers, when I say we were active in the associations, we both served as president and chairman of the board of NARSA, the International Heat Transfer Association, which is a worldwide group. Um, so it gave us a great perspective about what other people go through, not just transit properties, but everybody in the radiator business and the struggles that they face.
Mm.
And part of the struggles were just lack of product, lack of new product is the biggest problem. When a manufacturer, we'll just pick a bus company, say Nova Bus, or Gillig, maybe more people would know. They created radiators for the longest time out of copper brass with bolt together tanks. They worked tremendously. Um, and they led themselves to be repaired and they led themselves to be rebuilt and that sort of thing. But as the industry changed, the manufacturers, using Gillig as an example, they moved their construction of their radiators from the copper brass to a plastic tank aluminum core unit. These proved to be troublesome, let's say. They had some growing pains in the initial stages that they could not be repaired. You know, they left bus companies in the lurch, trying to find parts, that sort of thing. So it left a market open for someone to find a better mousetrap to the aluminum plastic radiator. That's where Martin and I really came in, and we started with some help of some other people as well, but to change the dynamic of the radiator that was being offered to the motoring public today. Um, and because of the vast numbers on the automotive side or the light duty truck, we chose that we can't go there. The numbers are just too large. So we focused again on the buses, and we just find that these folks were very open to listening to someone that had a better idea. And so with the help of transit properties and maintenance managers all across North America, and we continue to this day to evolve our offerings to present them an alternative to the original equipment aluminum plastic radiator. That's kind of how we've ended up where we are today. And so our history in the radiator business is long. Like I said, we've learned a lot of things. We burned our fingers a bunch of times, and we try not to make the same mistake twice. So we try and learn as we go too. So if we wanted to get into a little bit deeper discussion about the OEM plastic, and I'm sure anybody on this webinar today will certainly know that the plastic tank radiator has been an issue um, for as long as it's been used especially on the buses. The size of the tank, the science just doesn't work. We don't really know what the reason was why they went to that. We always considered it to be a weight reduction, which in turn would give the bus a little better fuel efficiency or economy. But when they lighten the radiator by 50 pounds or 80 pounds, and then they put a 200-pound frame around it so you can bolt it to the bus, I don't think that math works. But anyway, so that's just the way it's going to be, and it's going to be like that. It's not going to change per se. Although there are getting to be alternatives today. But so those folks would know the plastic tank radiator is really what I'm getting at. They would know what the shortcomings are of it. And that's what we have attempted to overcome with our all aluminum welded radiator. So
Randy, can you talk about the durability of the aluminum then? So it does surprise me that it seems pretty obvious if you're having issues with the plastic. It's pretty remarkable that you're out there with that solution. Can you talk about the durability?
well, sure. And to outline a little bit better the differences, on the plastic tank radiator, and I'm sure everyone's looking at the same screen I am, which is the radiator that's on the left. That the connection tank is made of plastic, and it is mounted to the aluminum core with an O-ring gasket, and then there's a crimp strip that goes around where these are done by machine. That one early on they were done by hand, but now they're done by machine, so it's fairly good. But so what you've got as the Achilles heel of that is the plastic, which doesn't hold up to the temperatures of today's buses. You've got an O-ring that is susceptible to the temperatures as well, because in the cold it shrinks. The antifreeze can leak. And then the strength of the crimp strip that has to hold all that together is also a weak link, to say the least. So the radiator that's on the right is our welded all aluminum. Now the picture doesn't show so much, but the tank is made out of aluminum, be it formed or stamped, depending on the model that we do. And then it is welded to a different type of core construction as well. The original one with the plastic is a tube and fin style radiator, which is a construction thing that I don't have something I can show you. The one on the right is a bar and plate style radiator, which is a very durable and historically well used unit in high pressure, high heat applications. So we've taken that core construction, changed the plastic tank to all aluminum, got rid of the crimp strip and the O-ring, and we weld that tank to the bar plate core, and it is just better. It's just better. So the common sense of the plastic to the aluminum is pretty easy once you're looking at them in person, if you've got them sitting on your bench somewhere for sure. So, but anyone that's seen that, and we equate it to maybe someone that doesn't get too much, the radiator of today that we create, and they're not all created like this, but as a rule they are, is more in the construction of the charge air cooler. And everyone knows what those are for the most part, and how durable that they really are, the charge air cooler. Um, they outlast the radiator in most occasions, so that construction idea is what we've used to create the radiator. So um, really, that's the gist of how that is. So when you start talking about, and of course the other parts are, you need to adhere to common practice standards of welding. These have to fit perfect. You can't just take something and it needs to go into the bus in the manner of which the old one came out, because that's what the technician is expecting. And then testing is done to prove that the cooling is good. It meets the OE specs. We need to make sure that not just changing something for the sake of one component over another or one construction. It still needs to do what it's supposed to do, which is cool the engine and let the bus run down the road. And so that aspect of the welded, getting rid of the plastic, the crimp, the O-ring, um, has just proven to be a far superior product, almost across the board. So,
So it would seem pretty obvious, but maybe you could highlight a little bit, or maybe a story with how the all aluminum radiator contributes to less downtime, increased vehicle availability.
well, it definitely does. And anyone that has a history with the plastic tank radiator would certainly know, um, sometimes, and it may not be all the fault of the radiator. There can be engine issues, head gaskets leak, and things like that cause excess pressure. But for the most part, the plastic tank radiator, you can really you can get a couple of years out of them from new, as long as they're maintained at a pretty strict level. Um, and of course, our history with the all aluminum only goes back to 2012, so I can't say that it can go further than that. But we have radiators that have been in play on buses since then, you know. Um, and as I said earlier, we're not perfect by any means, but we do have many, many that just last a considerably longer time. I couldn't give you the numbers because we don't get shared those numbers. Um, all we get is when we get speaking with the property, they tell us, yeah, well, we did those ones 4 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever, and we haven't had any trouble. But nobody puts that down so that we can use that. So, but anyways, we just know because as you said already, the common sense of it is it's right in front of you. And so but the issue still comes down to you have to prove yourself to each and every property almost on a daily basis because everyone likes the OE. Even if they're having trouble, they fall back to the OE. and I can't fault anyone for that. But so we need to try and
Randy,
get
we
them to
call that
try
escape
something
the
else.
parts trap. That's one of Kirk's mottos is escape the parts trap.
Yeah, well, there's very much truth in that. The OE dealers are on speed dial at these places, and it's the easy way for them too. So, uh, but when they start to have a problem and they start to look, well, that's where we want to come in. That's where we want to have an opportunity to prove what we can do. So, I don't know how I can expand on that any further, but
Well,
Well,
that
you
that's
know,
part of the approved equal, Linda, that, that's part of the Kirk's
yeah,
branding also. So we bring in these products like your all
yeah,
aluminum radiator that we know is going to be better than, some of the existing products that are out there, and we put the stamp of
sure,
approval behind it.
yeah,
So those are some of the things that, that it's Kirk's as a business looks for also.
yeah.
one of
And
the
we think that properties are looking for that too.
yeah,
Um, it's just it can be a hard sell even within their own property. So
I appreciate meeting innovators like you, Randy, that are I kind of liken it to like the OEMs are the big freighters and they don't move as quickly, but you're like the little boats, the speedboats that can pivot and come up with a better solution.
sure.
It seems like it's not rocket science. We know plastic is not as durable, especially if in an engine that it just seems, and I am not a technician. So to have that all aluminum, I'm going for it. So let's talk some more about this comparison, this replacement before and after.
Well, sure. So this picture, so that people know, this is not a bus radiator, but we didn't have a lot of pictures to use. This is just
It still applies though.
it still applies. It applies exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one that was an OE radiator. This was an all aluminum one. It was just it wasn't done very well, and it didn't stand up in service. This was a loader that works in an aggregate pit, and the guys were going through the radiators, and they couldn't really figure out why. So they just asked us if we could try one and do it a little bit different, which we did. We upgraded some of the materials on this one, and this is just an example for visual sake, but we upgraded some of the materials and the way that we did the core, and it proved to be a good replacement unit, more than satisfactory to their liking. Some of those machines, it's a very harsh environment, and some of the parts don't last very long. Not just the radiator, I mean every part on it. But so this was just to show an example of what we could take an old and make it new again, right from scratch, and turn it into
Beautiful.
something that serves our customer a little bit better. So that's why we put this picture in, just as a comparison about what we could do. Certainly the other photo showing the plastic tank radiator to the all aluminum radiator is a little bit more stark in its difference, but
How
these are
about
just
these
things that we
beautiful?
do,
These
you know.
we can show off
So
now some of these
yeah, so these,
all
for
aluminum.
people looking at them, the larger one on the bottom is an EMP brand radiator, or an EMP system that went into a bus. This is on a New Flyer bus, and this was one of the first incarnations that the dealers started to use an all aluminum radiator as well, um, because they started to see the problems. Certainly, they went away from the copper brass bolted together radiator, which was very large and heavy. And then they changed the system, and this system was designed to give better fuel efficiency to the bus. I believe it worked well. And they came up with this style of radiator to fit into those buses. And now this goes into a very complicated assembly with an oil cooler and a charge air cooler and several fans. As everyone would know, the EMP system is a fan-based cooling system. Um, but that's that radiator. The top is a charge air cooler that came out of a Gillig bus. Um, and of course, the charge air cooler built in an all aluminum with aluminum tank welded to a bar plate core, as has been the way since charge air coolers have been in use in the heavy diesel industry. So
And
that's what
Randy, I
those
would like to
pictures
say,
are.
like you mentioned earlier, these are direct replacement drop-in without having to
Yes.
do any modifications. That's
Yeah.
really, I think, a key.
Yeah, if you took this radiator from us and you put it up against the one that you took out of the bus, it will be an exact fit. Um, if for some reason it's not, we would really like to hear about it. But we do everything in our power when we create a number to make sure that the technician is not going to have any difficulties in installing it. And so both of these would be these are an exact fit. We know that. And there's many others too. So
Yes, we
uh,
have some to show off, but let's first stop and
yeah,
about uh, charge air coolers and oil coolers. So we have a beautiful
sure.
view.
Yeah, well, these photos, as people can see, a few charge airs and some oil coolers, and these were originally would have been created in an all aluminum. Why? Because they're more durable. That's why those constructions were made. The engineering stated that this is the pressures that they work under, and this is what's required. Um, so these are all different. They may not look it, but well, all different. I guess they are too. Um, it's just to give people an idea because every bus has its own unique cooling system package of parts. Um, and some, be it a 2011 to a 2012, they change something. So each part has to be recreated in its own right to be put back into play in the service end of it. Um, on this, we've got looking at the charge air coolers. That's a Nova cooler on the left and a Gillig cooler on the right. The bottom row is first a couple of new flyers, then the Gillig again, a new fire on the charge air cooler bottom right. And then those two oil coolers are both Gillig coolers um, that go into a large package. So you would take that oil cooler, you take a charge air cooler, you take the radiator, and then there's a steel frame that encompasses all those things. That's how they're mounted. The steel frame is then mounted to the bus. And then on all these units, the fans would then be installed as well on a separate part of the framing. So it's the cooling system on a bus, although you think about it, it's a 50 to 55 passenger bus with a very sizable diesel engine. Um, they require some pretty serious cooling. And so it's definitely, it's been a problem since there was buses on how to cool them without taking up too much space. So all the science behind them is to try and shrink engine compartment utilization, let's say. Um, so everybody tries to skinny down the radiator and the cooling package somehow to make some space for something else that needs to be in there, and we understand that. But it's a fine line between making sure you have enough cooling, especially on a bus that could be $500,000 to $800,000. You want to make sure it's going to work if you're going to
Yes,
go from California to New York with it someday.
yes.
So,
And make
so
sure.
yeah, so we have to make sure on our end of it that we're creating a product that is at the very least equal to the OE, both spec and fit and finish. And we do everything with the cooperation of our partners, our transit maintenance partners, where if they have a suggestion that they would like us to try to make something a little better, we're always open to that. When I
Yeah,
say
wonderful.
minimum as the OE spec, that really is a minimum. We do everything we can to exceed that.
That is something that we've heard too, Randy, that you listen, you've served in leadership in the industry, and that people can talk directly to you. So that's a reminder to those of you who are listening. We have a good audience here. If you have questions before we wrap up, we are going to go the full hour. So send in your questions in the chat and even tips for Randy, right? You just ask for the you
Sure we
want to
do.
listen? Yes, that's how we keep improving. That's beautiful. We also have another slide here. I think
Collection.
they're sharp looking. I don't know how.
Aren't those the sexiest pictures you've ever seen? Oh my.
Yeah.
So just to step back for just a moment, Linda, when you talk about reaching out to me, I can tell you for anyone that I've ever been in their property, which is a lot, but I'm always open to go to more. One thing they're a little bit shocked to find out that the owner of the company is the guy that's standing across the counter from them. And when I give them my business card, it has my phone number on it. It's not an office number, and when you call me, you get me. I do the best I can to answer those calls as they come, but that's who you're going to speak with is me. Or if you're going to contact Martin as the partner in our group, that's who you're going to speak with. We are the guys on the ground. We're the face of the company. And as I like to say, or don't like to say, I'm the guy with the bullseye on my back. So if you're shooting, here I am. Because we it's just the way that we've designed our company, and it's the way we're comfortable in how we deal with our customers. Face to face is the best. It's what I've always liked to do. It's very expensive to do. I'm not going to kid you, but it is the way we like it. And yeah, when you phone our company or you phone myself, that number I give you, it's me. And because that's how I like to deal, with people too. I like to speak with the owner if that's a possibility. And for a small company like Transit Cooling or like KIRKS, um, it's very personal to what we do. And that's how we want to maintain that and grow that business is through a personal contact with our customers, and many of them become friends beyond selling parts.
That,
It's
that's that's beautiful, Randy, and
it's good.
and
So
it's truthful. So I in that same vein, uh, you are responsive to your customers. So is Kirk's. So Bob
yeah.
got a call today from one of their customers. They are doing significant transition, and Bob's going to fly out and he needs to leave at 2:30. Bob is going to be here for the whole webinar, but in order to meet this customer's need, they're
Mhm.
very responsive. So we're going to let Bob go a little bit early, but that doesn't mean we have to stop our webinar. And
Oh, it
Thanks,
surely
Linda.
doesn't. Well, you have a nice trip, Bobby,
I appreciate that. And just
and
want to let
we'll talk
everybody
to you soon.
know, we are stocking all the transit cooling products out in California now as one of the new have availability for the West Coast. So not only in Detroit, but then now we'll be able to service the West Coast with shorter lead times is really the goal. And we appreciate the help of Randy and Martin in transit cooling.
very
And
good.
we
Thanks.
appreciate you guys. So yeah, have a great trip, Bob, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Yep. So see you, Bob. We're back with
Okay.
Randy, and we're going to talk about these beauties on the screen.
Yes, we are. These are again, the top parts. What have we got here? We've got mostly radiators. We'll start with the non-radiator, which is a charge air cooler on the bottom left. That's out of an MCI, an older MCI. I think it's a D coach. Um, Getting very difficult to get a part like that nowadays. Becoming a bit obsolete through the dealer network. And as Bob said, is stocking our products in California and in Detroit. That was the other aspect that I wanted to touch on before we maybe get into much more of these. Transit Cooling, we developed our business as an inventory-based company. Uh, and that is really at the request of our customers. Um, when they contact us, uh, perhaps early on, if they don't know who we are, they've tried to contact the dealer to get a part and have not been able to get it because the dealer doesn't have it. So when they contact us, and as I said, we've developed our business as an inventory-based company, and we have a lot of inventory in stock, ready to ship the same day or the next day at the most. And so the quick delivery is something that our customers have come to rely on for sure. and they can really appreciate. And as we say, when I'm meeting with a customer face to face, especially a new property that may be trying to, decide between us and someone else, we tell them that once a customer comes on board with transit cooling and through KIRKS, and we determine what your products are that fit your buses, what your needs are, we do everything in our power to increase our inventory base to cover that. And so these products that are on this screen, we have all of those in stock at all time. Oh, there's an MCI buses in the top right. That's an all aluminum replacement for a plastic aluminum original equipment. The the middle right radiator is a Gillig radiator that the original was also plastic and aluminum. And we've recreated that in an all aluminum with a bar and plate core with great success. The other ones are some Gilligs. I think they're all Gilligs. More of the EMP design, and so most of the properties that have EMP, they would recognize some of those Gilligs. But so we keep those in stock for quick delivery, both ours in our properties and at KIRKS, because I believe that KIRKS has built their business based on quick delivery inventory as well. And because downtime, which is here's the moral of the story, downtime is unacceptable. And the way that service contracts or service delivery contracts are written in today's transit world, you can't wait for 12 weeks to get a part. And I don't care if it's a radiator or shield washer motor, the bus has to be on the road. And so properties have come to rely on both KIRKS and transit cooling to have the parts they need when they need them so that they can get that bus back on the road and reduce their downtime. That's the
Absolutely.
biggest, the bigger part of, our business is to reduce downtime for bus maintenance people. So
Yes. How about
yeah,
these?
it really is. So here's some more. So we'll just use the one on the top left. That's an OE Gillig radiator. Shows the plastic tank. It shows the crimp strip pretty good. Um, and as I say, they were satisfactory to a point. But so we've left that in so that people see. Someone may recognize that radiator as a Gillig. Um, Now, the one on the far right is a Prevost bus. It's the newer Prevost motor coach from 2019 and up. That originally was a plastic and aluminum radiator that proved to be very troublesome in the motoring service. And so we got asked early on if we could recreate that one, which we have, and it's been a very, very well accepted product in our line. Um, they're running up and down all the highways. If you use the bottom right radiator, that's an older style New Flyer radiator, still very much in play in North America. But that is a copper brass core, older style, with the steel tanks that are bolted to the core. On that one, the bar that goes across, that was at the urging of one of our properties up in Canada to add some durability because of the length of the radiator and how much it expands and contracts when it gets hot and then cools off. They thought that it would be best if we had a strengthening bar that's bolted between. The core is almost 4 feet long, uh, and it's proven to be add just an extra step of durability to that radiator. We have some of those radiators have been in place since 2012 as well, and they may not look very good, but they're still working. So, so that was at the urging of our one of our customers, and everyone that we subsequently sold that radiator to appreciated that upgrade. Doesn't seem like much, but it's proven to be very much that. And the other two radiators on the screen, the one right in the middle, that's a Gillig radiator that was very popular. Most properties that run Gilligs would have had this. It's an EMP. And the one that's on the bottom left is a New Flyer radiator that fits into a package, much as the other ones did, with an oil cooler, or it's a heat exchanger, I suppose, not an oil cooler, and a charge air cooler, and then a whole bunch of fans. I think there's 9 fans on that package when it's all together. And so these are the way that the manufacturers are going today is with these assemblies. And and to make it ease of maintaining those or changing them when one fails, a lot of the properties now are requesting that we offer them that assembly already assembled. So they would change all three parts or two parts, depending on what it is. And that's something that we continue to work on a daily basis, actually. And that's where we really need the cooperation of a property that can help us because there's more to it than just looking at it and putting something together. It needs to be, it needs to fit, it needs to work, and that cooperation is critical for us to be able to pull that off. And for the most part, I'd say every one of our properties that we deal with is very cooperative. Um, Not just with us, they are with other transit properties as well. Most of the gentlemen or ladies that we deal with are very cordial in how they share information amongst themselves, amongst other cities. We're very fortunate to have the opportunity to attend a lot of trade shows, the APTA show, which I believe we're still a member of, the UMA Motor Coach Association, or up in Canada, the Canadian Transit Association, or Ontario, and where we meet a lot of people, a lot of maintenance people, and to a person, they are all more than willing to share the information that they've had to learn sometimes on their own. And then we take that information because as being someone on the road and we share that information, and with all permission, of course, but everyone wants everyone to have as much information as they can, which I think in the old days was the one of the jobs of the traveling salesperson, was to share that information with properties because not everyone can do all the trade shows and do all the meetings. But so we use that as a way to serve our customers as well. And we're happy to help
Yeah, I think
in any
that
way
is
that we can.
just what it's unusual really today to find a company that's producing parts that wants to hear from the technicians, wants to hear from the people right there in the shop working, and that you want to collaborate. That is lovely. Maybe lovely is not the right word.
Well, thanks.
So
No, thanks. And we appreciate that, Linda, because part of our thing is, yeah, business is what it is, but we're out here to help people as best we
so
can. And
with that, we have we have a couple questions that have come in. We want to get to those,
okay,
but we also wanted to make sure that we talk about any kind of we did talk about how they're drop-in replacements. So
yeah.
that covers installation. And if you had any maintenance tips. So just listening in to share these stories that some of these radiators that you have that have been installed in 2012, it's 2024, it's a recording of this webinar. That's pretty remarkable. Are those there that long because of maintenance, or what would you say to technicians and
Sure, it's because of the maintenance. You know, most transit properties have a what they would call a cleaning crew. When the buses come off the road in the evening, for whatever maintenance they're going to be, they'll run through a bus wash, just like a car wash. But then the next step is most of them have someone who their job is to open that bus up and clean the engine compartment and clean off the underside of the bus. Part of that is pressure washing or steam cleaning the cooling package. In a salted environment, it's critical because the salt will eat away at it, not just for the radiator's sake either. I mean, for the entire bus. That salt needs to be removed. Where it's a high dust or high dirt area, the fans will be blowing that sand and silt and things into the radiator. That needs to be removed. And so if a transit property has a comprehensive cleaning program, and most do, because it's critical to the life of the bus. These buses, like I said, anywhere from 500 to $1 million. If you don't look after them, they're not going to look after you. Uh, so it's in the city's best interest or the bus operator's best interest to make sure that that bus is getting cleaned. And in turn, we selfishly promote cleaning of the radiator as part of that. But it definitely is in their best interest. There's no question. So the salt, the sand, and everything needs to be removed from that radiator almost on a daily basis. Like a city transit bus in a large city runs 24 hours a day. You know, some people don't realize that they get oil change on those buses every 3 weeks, maybe even less than that. You think about changing oil in your car twice a year. Yeah, this is every few weeks they've got to pull that bus in, change oil and clean the brakes or do the brakes and do all these things. And they need to do that to maintain that bus's longevity. And in turn, on our end of it, the radiator, of course, needs to be cleaned. And it will offer you a very substantial lifespan if it's maintained. So when you think about the maintenance, no different than the antifreeze needs to be maintained for pH balance and things like that, alkalinity, and it needs to be replaced, on whatever the manufacturer's specifications are for replacing coolants, and those things need to be done. It's no different than changing the oil in the filter. It's coolants degrade over time and they need to be replaced. And so yeah, so the maintenance of the radiator, and like I said, most properties I'm sure would have some program in place that addresses that. So yeah,
Perfect. And we also we told our audience that we would address costs, so replacement costs. So for an
and
all
we
aluminum
can do
versus
that.
plastic.
Yeah, so as a rule, um, our radiators, and it would be very difficult to put a number to it. We have a great many radiators that we provide to our members or our customers that are 60 and 70% less than the OE. Um,
That's
and
impressive.
it's just the way it works, just the way it works. Um, there's a lot of them where we are 10% less. I'll be honest, there's not very many where we happen to be more because we've made upgrades. Um, it's just the scale that we work at and the way that our business operates, we're able to offer them a better product at a lower cost, at a better price. And so it's really on a case by case basis, but there are some that are extreme. As the dealership OE gets out of some of the older stuff, or they don't want to make them anymore, they've put their price to a point where you'll go looking somewhere else, because it's not so much them, it's their service provider that's pushing them to do that because the volumes aren't there. They work on volume numbers and so yeah, so from a cost saving, I would say, I never like to say 100%, but for the most part, our products are a considerable saving over the OE. And then when you take into consideration that we've taken out many of the deficiencies, let's say, it even adds more value to the transaction. So
Yeah, it's kind of a
yeah,
no-brainer. Like better quality,
and
low
less
price.
money.
Yeah. So
That's how
now
we see it too.
and
But that's
you have them in stock, you have them in supply, and Kirks is shipping them out.
yeah,
We've been to Kirks, their shipping department people are great and take pride
yeah,
in getting things to customers, packing them beautifully. Um,
yeah.
so we want to get to before our time is up some questions that came in. One of them was, are you the only supplier of all aluminum radiators for the transit?
I would say we are not the only. Um, there are a couple others in North America that have come up and have started to do it as well. People start to see, uh, like any market, um, Amazon isn't the only internet-based seller anymore either.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
so there are other people. I don't know what their business model is, you know, and how they promote themselves to their customers or anything. But yeah, there are others that are in the marketplace for sure. So
And so if there's questions comparing, you are available. Here's another question that came in. The FDA funded public transit agencies in the US often have to deal with Buy America compliance for components such as radiators. Do transit cooling solution products meet Buy America requirements?
that would be a question for Bob, unfortunately, but I believe like some of our stuff is certainly sourced somewhere else. Some is created in Canada. Some is created in the US. So it depends on the product. Um, but yeah, I think that Bob would be better to answer the Buy America because he deals with it more than I do. Um, but yeah, as we grow our business though, and more stuff, and of course the Buy America things, it's hard to know, does it include Canada or not? There's always been a bit of a gray area there in the discussions. Um, but we do have some products that are manufactured in the US that would definitely come in under Buy America. There's no doubt. And but that's on a
Okay.
case by case basis. So
So yeah, we do have some information. We did, KIRKS did a blog post on the Buy America. We can get that question answered back to you
sure.
if the audience participant who sent that in wants to put that question into the contact form on KIRKS website. We'll be able to directly email that back to you and get an answer for you on that question.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly can. And as I said, you know, some of our products are manufactured right in the US. That would be no issue. So on a like I said, a case by case basis, we would certainly look into that and you know, because we try and follow that Buy America, and we do know that there's issues, you know, in trying to adhere to it. So, but anyways, yeah, no, that's a good question for sure, because we understand that federal money really rules the roost when it comes to so many things, not just transit. And you know, people need to make sure that they're doing the right thing by the government, by their ratepayers. So, sure.
That's absolutely true. And then there was another question just about part numbers and matching part numbers. So KIRKS does that for you if you've got a question about a part number replacing that. Uh,
Yes.
the KIRKS parts specialists are there to answer those questions and help you find the replacement part that you need.
Yeah, you can give your part number to us or to KIRKS. A great deal of my efforts are spent on trying to create accurate cross references. Superseded numbers from manufacturers becoming a problem more so lately. Um, but with again the cooperation of our transit properties and how they share that information to help us maintain you know, as accurate a database as we can. So generally you can just give us say the Gillig part number and we will know what it is. We will know what the part is. So and we be it either Transit Cooling or KIRKS Automotive. We work very close with the KIRK boys, we call them. They've been a tremendous supporter of ours since 2016, and you know they too are a boots on the ground company. You know, they're guys that are on the road. His new guys in California, I have not met them, but Billy and Nate and Rob do a tremendous job for their customers in the US, mainly because they're in their place, they're face to face. And if and when there's a problem, they're right there to look after it. You know, and as I
That's
say to
really nice.
everyone, you know, because people, oh, you have problems. Well, of course we have problems. It's just the way the world works. And it's not just us. If there were no problems with these buses, none of us would have a job because they would never fail if they built them, you know, with no
Yes,
problems. But
yes.
so we
And
just
that
know that there is, and you know, and that it makes it so great to be able to work with the Kirk boys because they do manage their business very similar to the way we manage our business. And it's very important to us. As I said, we take everything very personally on our end. When things go wrong, we're there to make sure that they're righted, and hopefully we just carry forward. And because it is us, it is me, it is my partner Martin, and it's Bob and his gang, and yeah, so they're right there all the time.
Yes. Working very close with the customer, that is true. And if you didn't, to our audience, if you didn't get any, if you have questions that did not get answered, or you'd like a quote on transit cooling products or any parts, please call or just shop on over to kirks.com. Super easy to find our email, our contact form. Got a lot of good information for you. Parts, information, all on Transit Cooling Solutions products are on the website as well. And just a reminder, this recording of this webinar will be emailed to registrants. It'll also be available on KIRKS YouTube channel. We have other informative webinars recordings that are on the YouTube channel. We'll also be posting more trainings and in the shop things that are helpful to you. And we would also love your feedback. You'll get a 3-question survey at the end of this to learn more about what you want to see in KIRKS Toolbox webinars. And we really appreciate Randy Lalonde of Transit Cooling Solutions for joining us as our guest. Randy, you are a tower of information. You've been in the field. You can tell you're an expert who cares. We really appreciate you joining us. And we also want to say to our listening audience that if you're not receiving right now KIRKS newsletter, it's a monthly info packed about product updates, industry news. You can scan that QR code or you can sign up for it on the KIRKS website. So we'd love to have more of these webinars that are helpful to you. We want to say, Randy, thank you for helping KIRKS customers escape the parts trap.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone taking some time today. If anyone wants to reach out anytime, I'd love to speak more with you at any time.
Thank you, Randy. That's
all right. Thanks, Linda.
All right.
All right.